This is the latest LED panel light from Aputure, the HR672. In fact, this is the bi-colour version, so it's the HR672C. Aputure have recently begun using high colour rendering index LEDs across their products with a 95 plus rating, although a claim of perfection is perhaps a tad optimistic. Inside the box, you get a rather nice carrying case, as with their prior LED panels, again with the CRI boast prominently stitched into the material. The case contains a wealth of goodies, namely a power cord with an appropriate plug on it for whichever country you're buying in, a power supply with a 1.8 metre cable from the PSU to the light. There's an adjustable bracket which screws into the LED panel and sits on top of a regular light stand, so you can point the panel at various angles. And two Sony NPF type batteries are also included for lighting on the run where there's no mains. Each battery has a claimed 6.6 amp hours, that's 47.5 kilowatt hours of runtime. One nice touch is a pack of spare LED bulbs, presumably in case any should blow up on you. Both colours, 5500K and 3200K, are included. And, this is rather good, there's a remote control, which does a lot more than just on-off, but actually controls 3 channels of 4 banks, and we'll come back to that later on. Finally, there's a shoulder strap for the bag if you prefer not to carry by the 2 handles. As for the LED panel itself, it's the same size as prior models, which is nice and compact. A diffusion screen is included, which simply slides down over the LEDs, but doesn't do an awful lot if we're honest, and trying to take it out again is really fiddly, as it clicks into place, but the little tab to pull it back out with is far too small to get a good grip of. The 672 in the name refers to the number of LEDs on the panel, so they're more tightly packed than the 528 in the previous model from Aputure. Down the side there's a panel for cooling, not that the LEDs get that hot in our experience. Another panel along the top of the back means heat can escape without the need for any fans, which is always a relief since that means no noise while you're filming. 2 battery compartments sit horizontally along the top of the back of the panel. The batteries simply click in, and both are required to make the light function if you're not on mains power. Speaking of which, a rather small and potentially flimsy 3-pin socket is used for the input from the power supply. We'd certainly advise making sure that the cable's not strained or pulling when plugged in. Usefully, the batteries will charge on the panel as long as the power is supplied, even if the switch is off, so it means you don't need to already own or go out and buy a Sony NPF charger. A segmented green LED indicates that charging is underway. There are 2 control knobs on the C model of this light, one for brightness, 10% up to 99%, the other for colour temperature, 3200 Kelvin to 5500. Depending which knob you're turning, the indicator panel shows either the percentage brightness or that colour temperature in hundreds of degrees. Underneath the indicator, 2 buttons that assign this particular panel to one of the 4 groups and 3 channels available for remote control. In this way you can set up a total of 12 different sets of these lights, all controllable from a single remote, firstly by choosing which of the 3 channels you want to make changes to, and then within that just using the controls for whichever of the 4 groups you actually want to adjust. Oddly, whilst all 4 groups can have their brightness controlled remotely, only 2 of them, marked C and D, enable you to change the colour temperature. Presumably Aputure imagine that you won't have all colour temperature changeable versions in your kit bag, but you'll have some of the fixed colour ones as well. In that case, of course, you'd assign the fixed colour ones to groups A or B, where you can just adjust the brightness, and you'd put the colour temperature changeable versions on C and D, where you can do the brightness and the colour. Either way, it is a terrifically flexible and useful little system on this one remote control. So, what does the panel actually look like in action? In this first test, we pointed the light from a distance of 1.3 meters at a flat blank wall. Now, we can't absolutely guarantee that the paint is uniform, but here's how evenly the light falls at a variety of intensities and color temperatures. This brief test demonstrates that the peak brightness comes not at either end of the colour calibration, but at 4400 Kelvin, when it is substantially brighter. Now, one test that I'm not going to bore you with the actual video of was a flicker test, because a lot of people ask, do these LED lights flicker when you're filming? Well, I tested this one at 3200K up to 5500K on batteries and on mains power, at intensities from 10% up to 99%, and at shutter speeds from 1/25th up to 1/120th. And in none of my tests did I see any flicker. Now, that's not to say, of course, that if you used some other combination of brightness and shutter speed and whatever, that you might not see any. But in all of my tests, it was flicker-free. The next test is how well this panel performs as an interview key light, again at a variety of intensities, distances and colour temperatures. Clearly the light falls off substantially with distance, but that's not specific to this LED, that's just the laws of physics. Finally, just what temperature is the light anyway? Rather than use anything so traditional as a light meter, we fired up 3 camcorders and told them to take a reading on a photography white balance card. Firstly with the light at 3200 Kelvin, then at 5500 Kelvin, and you can see what they thought of it on screen now. In conclusion then, there is a lot to like about these new lights from Aputure. They're bright enough that, provided you get them close into your subject, they easily work as interview lights. And they're also compact enough and lightweight enough that you could quite easily tote 3 of them around in that standard 3-point lighting setup. Obviously they run off batteries, which helps with that portability as well as running off the mains, and you have got that useful control and flexibility from the little remote control that's supplied. Finally, of course, as these things go, they're relatively low cost as well. Now, the only note of caution that I'd possibly sound is that given the plastic construction, how well they will actually stand up to being out and about in the rough and tumble of the field, well, that remains to be seen. But then if you're treating your equipment badly and chucking it about, really, that is your problem. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was useful. If it was, please do give a click on that like button. And if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, why not click on the subscribe button as well? It's free and YouTube will let you know every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.